I did it, guys. I jumped in. I know I said I wasn't going to do it. I know I told everybody I was not going to watch this show. I promised. I really did. I I threw a poll up on Twitter, and let's pull that up real quick. I don't even know what it's at right now. I need to see what it was. But I did a poll on Twitter to see, should I put myself through the agony of watching The Acolyte? On one hand, I can criticize it and discuss it on my show properly without watching it. On the other, how can I properly show Disney, Lucasfilm, we don't want this crap if I give it a watch? 54% said yes, do it out of 33 votes. 45 said no. Here's a bunch of people kind of criticizing me. Bro, I just did it hysterically bad. No, not with that attitude. Wow, you seem legit. You cannot discuss if you haven't watched it. So that's kind of the things that I was seeing there. I gave in. I gave it a watch. I did. And honestly, Star Wars has always sat atop of the list for me when it comes to pop culture. So I wanted to watch it. I had to watch it. I had to, because it sits atop of pop culture for me. Now, I'm not somebody who typically reviews things. There's things that I do review because I want to review them, because I want to talk about them, because I feel like, look, I love this thing. I love this franchise, this IP so much. I'm going to talk about it. Star Wars is one of those things. I am going to review it. I am going to talk about it. If you're somebody who doesn't like to, hear spoken reviews, head over to Slav's Free Talk, because I do have a review up on Slav's Free Talk. But here it is. This is not the Star Wars you are looking for. The Acolyte episodes 1 and 2. And like I said, if you know me, if there's anybody out there who knows me, I struggled. I really did struggle with deciding whether I should watch this show or not. Look, I don't want to see all the agenda pushing that Disney and Lucasfilm are doing right now. And whether you want to believe it or not, there is agenda pushing in this show. There are going to be people who are going to watch this review right here and call me out in the comments and say, oh, you're just one of those hateful, spiteful people on YouTube who wants to criticize Disney and Lucasfilm. And go ahead. You can call me out in the comments all you want. But let's face the facts. This show is going to be pushing agendas. There are some things, DEI-related, woke agendas in these first 2 episodes. It's not very prevalent in these first 2 episodes, but they are there. And we've heard rumors. We've heard from people who've seen episodes 3 and 4, and who know what is coming even after that things do happen later on in this season that even push those woke agendas even further. And I tell you what, that is what was holding me back from really watching this. So, like I said, I put up a poll whether I should watch it or not, and what the hey, I said, who doesn't enjoy seeing a building get blown up from a distance? Who doesn't want to see Disney crumble to the ground? And that's kind of what I decided to do. So this is a spoiler-filled review of sorts. So I am going to talk about it here, and I am going to mention spoilers. So if you haven't watched it, you don't want to be spoiled, come back and check this out. Here's the deal. Look, watching these first 2 episodes of The Acolyte, it is really, really, really weird to me, because the show was able to be made about 2 siblings separated at birth in a galaxy far, far away, which to me I thought was kind of odd, because where's the originality there? We've seen that already. Why are they doing that again? Obviously, in this case, one's good, one is evil. But still, where's the originality there? I get that isn't some big reveal like the Luke and Leia thing later down the line. It's not something that is saved for a huge earth-shattering, mouth-gaping moment, but let's not act like there isn't some sort of history being rewritten here in some form. Almost like the Disney-era Star Wars is doing everything they can to erase the George Lucas era of Star Wars completely. And if you don't believe that, take a look at what they did with Rey Skywalker in the sequel trilogy, basically making her the chosen one over top of Anakin. And again, if you don't want to believe that, that's your prerogative, fine, but it's what happened. They kind of erased Anakin's story in the sequels, and it was kind of disturbing and upsetting that they did it that way. Now, the show starts off almost hilariously bad with May, played by Amanda Stenberg, making her way to a cantina to find Jedi Master Indara, played by Carrie-Anne Moss. Now, at first I thought, hey, this is kind of cool. I was kind of shocked at this. Feels like a cantina scene straight from 1977's A New Hope. I was like, this is pretty cool. This feels really nice and Star Warsy. Even the music at this point, I was like, this is not bad. I like this. But Carrie-Anne Moss's character is just inconspicuously just sitting around a table with some aliens staring at a wall. It was ridiculous. Not to mention the dialogue at this point when May comes over and is like, all right, I'm going to fight you. Let's fight. Give me your best. It was hilariously bad. The absurdity of the direction and the shot and the dialogue. Look, I don't want to hear anybody who likes this show to ever sit there and criticize George Lucas's directing style, dialogue, writing ever again. No, you cannot. This is just terrible on all levels. It was terrible. The fact that this got past any editing at all, look, it was bad. It was that bad. And look, it all does lead to a fight between the two characters that is, I mean, it's all about kung fu fighting. And yeah, they do some bullet time even. And look, I get it. You get Carrie-Anne Moss. You want to copy the Matrix. Carrie-Anne Moss is, 25 years older than she was in 1999? I'm sorry, it's not the same. And they don't even use her in the bullet time. They use Amanda Stenberg for the bullet time scene, and it wasn't even good. You have Jedi fighting, and you don't use lightsabers. That's what in these 2 episodes, you have Jedi fighting, and there's no lightsabers being, I'm sorry, now, apparently May, and I'm not going to cover the whole storyline, I just kind of want to get the setup here. Apparently May needs to kill Indara because her master, an ominous dark force user with a red lightsaber on a rock looking over an ocean, told her to. At least that's what we're led to believe. He also tells her to go kill 3 other Jedi, but honestly, does that really matter at this point? No, it doesn't. But we do know that there's some connection to Indara, as well as these other 3 Jedi to May. We start to see there's a connection to why she is the way she is. And obviously this Dark Force user is probably going to play a role in that as well. Now, one thing we have learned in the Disney era of Star Wars, and this is something that we've learned time and time again in every iteration, whether it's the sequel trilogy or the television shows or now the Acolyte. Lightsabers don't kill anybody. They do not. And let me repeat. They do not kill anybody. Lightsabers, they don't kill anybody. They just don't. They don't. But you know what does? You know what does? Butter knives, or throwing knives do, at least. Look, the red lightsaber dude does tell May not to kill the Jedi with weapons for some odd reason. I don't know why. So he tells May, don't use weapons to kill the Jedi. But come on, we know she's going to use weapons because she's evil and doesn't listen to directions. So she uses little throwing knives. That's how she kills Indara in the first episode, which is within the first 5 minutes. She uses a throwing knife to kill Indara. So that's kind of the catalyst that gets the story of the show moving. That's really the bulk of it. So now you have Jedi, and this sets them all on the mission to find who is killing Jedi. We get introduced to Osha, who's played by Amanda Stenberg also. She plays twins. She's the twins that I talked about. You have the good and the bad. She happens to be a former Jedi Padawan who couldn't cut it and left the Jedi Order 6 years prior. You also have Sol, played by Lee Jung-jae, who was the guy from Squid Game. Look, I tell you what, and I'm going to talk about it maybe a little bit later, he really works in this show. His English is rough, which kind of makes it hard, but his acting, he's a solid actor. It's just everybody around him sucks. You have Yord, which Lee Jung-jae, whose Sol was the former master of Osha. You have Yord, who's played by Charlie Bennett. He was an apprentice alongside Osha. You have Zeki, played by Daphne Keane, who is from Logan, who is the current apprentice of Sol. And those are pretty much the main characters that are going to run through this, at least the first 2 episodes. And honestly, unfortunately, the one of any interest, like I said, is Sol. He is... His Korean accent really does ruin his acting. Not his acting, but really the dialogue, which is horrendous. But it's really hard to understand him at times. And it's hard for him to bring any of that gravitas that he can bring. Like, his acting, his emotion that he brings to every scene is solid. But his accent really makes it difficult. And it's not a knock on him. Like, I want to see him get better with his English accent, because I think he could be an actor to be reckoned with in America's cinema. This just isn't working for him. I loved him in Squid Game, and I didn't watch the dubbed version. I watched the subtitled version, and he was fantastic in that. So I do hope that he has a great career in America's cinema if he wants to continue in that route, but this just isn't working for him. The rest, I mean, with that said, the rest... they aren't great. But as the show progresses, the one thing that really, really got me was how it tries so hard to be clever. This show just wants to be clever on so many turns, but it fails on every level. It makes it painfully predictable. Painfully predictable. It's just little things like when... when in shows and movies and in writing, when you want to make a character seem like they're going to be in an instance and when they could be in danger, and they're not going to be in danger. Like, oh, it's a little situation they got to get out of, but how are they going to get out of it? And a lot of times it's not, the character's going to get out of it, but the little twist, is how they're going to get out of it. But it's in this show, it's never how are they going to get out of it. Immediately how they're going to get out of it. Like, it's blatant. It's blatantly obvious. And it's little things like that in the show that it's just everything is obvious. And it's sad. Like, the writing just... It seems like they wrote this, maybe did one additional pass, and they were like, yeah, that's good enough, let's go! Like, these scripts probably could have used maybe 2, 3, 4 more passes to kind of get some of the bullcrap out of it, maybe to make things a little more interesting, because it's another thing. It's just not interesting. It isn't. And when I'm talking about the bullcrap, I was scrolling through X, sitting there after I watched, and trying to think, like, what is it that really is bothering me about this? Because I was bothered by it. And Robert Meyer Burnett, who I do admire, I think he is one of the great film minds that is, out there. And he really hits it on the head, and he talks about how the Acolyte completely misunderstands Star Wars. He goes, the Acolyte is a massive misunderstanding of what the original Star Wars was all about. I wonder, does the younger generation actually even understand what storytelling itself is supposed to be about? Now, what he is talking about, and why I wholeheartedly agree, is in the first episode, this one specific moment is a Jedi literally mind rapes an innocent bystander. he literally like goes against what the Jedi are. It goes against everything the Jedi are, everything that George Lucas meant for the Jedi to be. Now, that's a move that a Sith Lord would do, a Dark Force user would do, but not a Jedi. You know, it's just like, it's things like that in this show that make you sit back and say, these writers, the showrunner, these characters, they don't know what they're doing. You know, I harken back and I think back to Sam Witwer, who, you know, he was the voice of Darth Maul in Clone Wars, a lot of other voices. He was Starkiller in the Force Unleashed. He talks about when he was on Clone Wars, and they did a script, and they were sitting there kind of talking, and I guess they were talking about a scene where Padme was supposed to meet Shmi, and Anakin says something, "Oh, I can't wait till you meet my mother," and Sam Witwer actually speaks up to Dave Filoni and is like, no, what are you guys doing? They already met. It's an actor who is passionate about Star Wars and knows Star Wars. And it's not saying that Dave Filoni doesn't know Star Wars. They're writing, they're in so many scripts, they're doing so much stuff that things can get overlooked. And sometimes you have to have that passion, that love for the material, not just in your writers and in your staff, but in the people who are acting and can help you get through those types of things. This show doesn't have that almost anywhere. And it's very apparent in what we're seeing in something like that. Now, this might be a little bit of a nitpick. You know, we're going to talk about lightsabers here. And I've already seen on X people freaking out about this, which is shocking because I thought I was the only one that picked up on this, but I'm seeing other people pick up on it. But if I'm being honest, I think this has been an issue that has been growing and growing even since the sequels. Lightsabers have been getting worse and worse and worse over the years, looking less and less like tangible weapons and more like toys. The iterations that have been used in this show look ginormous and bulky, almost like toys. They really do. Specifically like the toys that you would buy at the lightsaber shop at Galaxy's Edge. They are horrendous looking. Specifically, where I noticed it the most, and I chuckled, is when Indara is killed in the beginning in like the first 6 minutes, and she dies, and when she falls, her lightsaber hits the ground, and it looks like a plastic toy. It legitimately looks like a plastic toy sitting there. Like, I can't believe that got, like, they approved that. They legitimately approved that for a television show, for a Lucasfilm approved TV show. It's beyond me. It is legitimately beyond me. The story does continue to go on to a dull place, though. At no point am I excited or curious after this. Like, look, you got these toy lightsabers, you got terrible dialogue, you got terrible writing, you got characters that aren't really enjoyable or that I care about at all, except for Soul, which he's a cool character with terrible dialogue and no good writing. And this story just is dull because it's predictable. It's not exciting. And I just don't care. Look, they gave us 2 episodes on the premiere night. And typically when a show does that, when a show gives you 2 episodes, when they give you 2 episodes to like, hey, here's 2 episodes, it should bring fans together around the water cooler the next day at work, where you're going to be discussing what's to come, how cool everything was. Sadly, though, all they were able to do in those first 70-ish minutes that we got was to showcase their inability to tell an exciting and impactful original story. If rumors are true, which I've heard from reliable people that they are, the next 2 episodes will split the fandom more than it has already been split over the last number of years. That means this show will do the exact opposite of what Disney and Lucasfilm needs it to do. So where do they go from here? That is the real question at this point, because these 2 episodes were a complete and utter waste of time and money. And let me tell you, the reports are that it was $180 million spent on this show for 8 episodes. And where was that money spent? As I predicted from the trailers, everything in this show feels small and cheap. So where did that money go? And one thing that I find odd, now that I kind of I'm thinking about it, one thing I find odd is how a Jedi can be killed. One that appears to be like a decently high-ranking Jedi Master. And the Jedi Council aren't involved at all. Like, at all. Just a few Jedi and a green lady Jedi that might be important and who couldn't act her way out of a paper bag if she even tried. Of course, maybe we can blame the horrendous dialogue on this. No, we can't. I mean, the dialogue on this show is really, really bad, but she is just horribly miscast and not good at all. But honestly, why is the Jedi Council not involved at all? Because they don't want to show Yoda? Are they kind of saving that for later in the series? They're like, oh, it's Yoda, everybody, woo! Or are they just not going to show Yoda? Because rumor has it they're not going to show Yoda. He's alive. He's part of the Jedi Council at this point. Nothing makes sense about this show at this point. It is so bad. And look, her acting is just so bad. So bad. Something I don't want to miss touching on is the music, because I'm a big fan of music in movies and especially Star Wars. For some odd reason, though, they really choose to go in their own direction again and stray away from the more John Williams-esque feel. Sure, there are moments that have the Star Wars flair, but overall it is very forgettable. And finally, the costume designs. Look at this costume. Come on. They appear to be off the rack from Spirit Halloween. Honestly, they are bland, flat-looking, and anything but denoting the High Republic era, which, look, if you're a Star Wars fan, you know that it's more majestic in that time. Nothing is majestic about these costumes and the designs of what they're wearing in this show. You start to realize, I should say, that you don't care about the product anymore. You start to realize that the people working on this show don't care about the product, but more about the ideas that they're trying to push. The designs are bad, the dialogue's bad, the story's bad. All it seems to be is that they're trying to get to these ideas that they want to push in the story. Be damned everything else. And yeah. Am I going to continue watching the show? Honestly, I can't say. I'm probably going to check out episode 3 just to see what this crazy thing is that everybody's alluding to is going to happen in this. I don't recommend, if you are somebody who does not like the Disney era of Star Wars, I don't recommend watching this. But like I said above, who doesn't like to see things crumble to the ground? I mean, if you want to see Disney Star Wars crumble and fall, more power to you. But my final question is, though, what happened to the soul of Star Wars? Because look, Jay House over on Twitter, he says, the emphasis on having all the tech and budget but having no heart really rings true. Where is the soul of the franchise? Where is the soul of the franchise? And it rings true. Here we sit. 94% makes no sense. But that's understandable. 39% Rotten Tomatoes from the audience. What happened to the soul of Star Wars? Let me know your thoughts if you checked it out in the comments below. Follow me, socials, hit that like button, hit subscribe. With all that said, I'll catch you all later.